Let's see who comes in today. Today is Monday. I know that the snow is melting for some of you all who are in the snow. And, hey, Duchess. Well, I'm going to go on and get started. We're going to just keep it rolling. To see it's Monday again and it's 12 o'clock. It may be lunchtime for some people if they're back to work. I haven't watched the news today. But I am your host of a 14-day coming out revival. A 14-day coming out revival. And today is day 4. And I am going to be sharing with you in just a moment. I am LaTanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, and many other names that the sisters in the community give me. I'm even called now the coach's coach. Is that the new one that I just got? So my energy today is just to give you a little context of my energy. We just finished a long walk around Santana, and I had the inspiration because it was on my mind to go to an acupuncturist, and he totally just an acupressurist, and he totally did some therapy on me that calmed me. And if you know anything about your astrological natal chart, sometimes what's recommended for others may not be what's recommended for you. And so that would be a good segue to talk about the blessings of the black sheep. The blessings of the black sheep and how to flip the switch on your own story. So for the past few days, I've been coming out about pieces of my story that I don't normally talk about because I am a teacher and educated. I mean, literally trained teacher and psychologist. It is very sometimes easy to teach and to be very solution oriented, and given all of the training that I've had, I tend to not claim any victim consciousness because I literally have gone through tremendous amounts of training to learn how to shift the victim consciousness. Victim consciousness is very, very sneaky, especially when you have spiritual modalities. I've been taught that they are called spiritual bypasses. And I'll share a little bit more about that because spiritual bypasses can show up in noble ways. It can show up in good things that still don't necessarily fulfill you. And so today I want to open up with a quote from Brené Brown. And I think I can actually see it. I don't have to put on my glasses. So here we go. It's not so much the act of authenticity that challenges the status quo. I think it's the audacity of authenticity. Most of us have shame triggers around being perceived as self-indulgent or self-focused. We don't want our authenticity to be perceived as selfish or narcissistic. I could go further on that from Brené about how we don't want our authenticity to be perceived as many other things. And she said that when she first started practicing authenticity and worthiness, she felt like every day walking through a gauntlet of gremlins. The voices can be loud and unrelenting. What if I think I'm enough, but others don't? What if I let my imperfect self be seen and known and nobody likes what they see? Come on now. I know y'all can relate to that. What if my friends, family, co-workers like the perfect me better? You know, the one who takes care of everything and everyone. Thank you so much for responding. So she says, what if I think I'm enough, but others don't? What if I let my imperfect self be seen and known and nobody likes what they see? What if my friends, family, co-workers like the perfect me better? You know, the ones who take care of everything and everyone. Okay. So, I've been sharing a little bit about pieces of my story. Many more of the stories I do intend to share and to write about, because they've been living inside of me, and I've been protecting imaginary judgment. Now, it doesn't mean that I haven't had any judgment, but once you've been judged or criticized or been taught to be good, to behave well, then of course you do consider a lot of times, what will people think? That's just real talk, right? So a piece of my story is that I always thought that it started with feeling unloved. Okay? When a child is experiencing anything in their house, anything that is like trauma, whether it is direct or indirect, divorce is a form of trauma, not to mention all of the things that happen as a byproduct of the divorce. The children get shuffled sometimes words are spoken. I was that child. I absorbed everything. I was a sponge. Every spiritual reading I've ever had has told me that I was a sponge, but this came much later in life. Okay? So that is why the impact of the divorce was even more intensified for me. But let me go further. You say, oh, lottie-dottie, you know, who hadn't experienced divorce? I've been on the streets, I've been homeless. Maybe that's your story. But today, I'm very clear that I have been purposed to reach out to the woman that's in the middle. The woman that's easily forgotten because she doesn't have a street story. She doesn't necessarily know about doing drugs. She may not have even lost her virginity until later on in life. For the most part, it looks like she made all of the right choices. And that middle woman is the woman who usually plays it safe in many ways in her life. She's not necessarily the bad girl, the rebel. She's not necessarily that. But that doesn't minimize the trauma or the pain that woman walks in, because usually it's a perpetual pain that's covered up. And so there may be people in my family who would argue, you weren't the black sheep. You may have thought you were the black sheep. And I could tell you stories of why I thought that. But I would rather write them for right now. But if you have experienced anything that has called you out from amongst the group, from going with the flow, then that might have been a black sheep experience. However, when you are walking in your mind as a child, thinking that you're not loved, in a culture that makes you feel, makes you feel, in a culture that, particularly in the South, where we tend to have these recommended, we are taught to go to school, get good grades, then go to college, and all of that jazz. When you're brought up in a culture that sometimes communicates by finding the wrong, staying away from wrong, when you grow up in a culture where being affirmative may not have been something that our elders knew anything about, children in any type of situation where there is an upset or hostility or any toxic environment, if the adults do not talk to the children, if the adults do not communicate to the children, children fill in the blanks. Are y'all with me? I want you to think about your own story. Because in the absence of explanation, in the absence of communication, in the absence of affirmation, children fill in the blanks, because children have creative minds. doesn't always mean that they fill in the blanks with the correct information. Now, what we could do is we may spend many years in our life feeling victimized, angry, upset, because that produces a byproduct. I shared on earlier that I went from being black sheep to making a decision that I'll just get the hell away from all of you. Plus, I never felt really connected to my hometown. I felt called very, very early to something else. That's the best way that I can explain it. And so when you begin to walk your own journey, that is when my experience of feeling like Hagar came very, very much later. But I always was a child that had a heart for God. I shared that before as well. And so I remember going to college, and there were some breakdowns in my family between my mother and my father. And of course I went in because my heart was broken. And that's the woman in the middle. She's had her heart broken somewhere. And sometimes your heart gets broken by the authority, by the people who are assigned to you to care for you. And when you don't ever heal your heart, it begins to show up in other areas of your life, even when you're smiling, even when you're performing, even when you are achieving, even when you looks like, you have everything good. The black sheep doesn't feel like they begin definitely goes to a feeling of I don't really belong anywhere. So the filter is already in place. Many of us are operating on filters that we've never cleared. So everything that we experience, it runs through that filter. I spent many years in that, and that is a wilderness experience. That's a wilderness experience. Some of us check out of our body. We literally check out, we shut down, and we don't know it. I have a gift for the checkout. Fight or flight is another symptom. If you feel like you don't belong, if you feel like you are mislabeled, if you feel like nobody gets you or understands you, and no one is going to help you, then you fill in more blanks. Now, these are, if you never do anything to learn, and the average person goes to school, goes to college, you are degreed. Don't let your degree be your cover up. And I said this to a client the other day who was sharing with me her experience in religion. She got disappointed in a community, and she couldn't even see what her automatic responses were. We develop a reflex. These reflexes are hurting us as black women when we don't heal. I want to say that to my sisters, right? Because we are so gifted and so talented and so amazing. I can't tell you the number of people who have come to me who are very esteemed in their position, but still searching for significance on the inside. A lot of what we see sometimes is the search for significance, and then it's rewarded. It's rewarded by the society, and so it makes it very easy for this stuff to become calcified. If you know anything about your pineal gland, particularly for those who are melanated, is very significant in being able to understand yourself. And so we could get into, the pineal gland and ways to open the pineal gland with your diet and that type of thing. But it's more than that. So the blessing of the black sheep. I say all that to say that it was my pain that, like many of you who are open to coaching, who are in capable community, who are in progressive communities, you are doing some of the work. Some of you are doing intense work. Some of you are peeking in to see if you're ready to do it. That's a whole nother conversation about readiness. For me, I had a natural inclination to the call on my life. So of course I was a studier. I read a lot of things very, very, very early. That's a blessing, because sometimes the person that has been cushioned, who has been sheltered, who has a silver spoon or a gold spoon in their mouth, they don't know how to process anything. A lot of the children today, they don't know how, for instance, to work through conflict or have face-to-face conversation because they're always in front of a device. Well, see, there's a cognitive breakdown in children when that happens as well. So we're going to have to teach children how to begin to communicate and how to work through conflict. But how are you going to teach your children if you yourself don't want to do it? A lot of you mothers want to put your children in rites of passage programs for the boys, but you need to be in a rites of passage program because you never had any rites performed for you. You never went through a rites. You had to find out through trial and error, which that is the human journey, to find out some things through trial and error, but some of the things that we don't even have to go through. And so it caused a delayed response in many of us, which is okay, because a delay is not a denial. God has not denied anything from you. The moments when you doubt, when you feel like you are wrong, you could be wrong, what if I'm wrong? And you spend your life trying to be right, you cheat yourself out of the risk of just being authentic, out of the risk of being loved for your imperfections, out of the risk of actually being seen. Because when the black sheep feels very invisible. I felt that at almost 6 feet. At almost 6 feet tall, I felt like no one saw me. So what do? You start to do more. You start to perform more. You start to be more. And yes, I was a natural leader even as I was young, but I didn't know, because no one was necessarily saying that to me. Oh, this is a gift that you have, LaTanya. I didn't necessarily have people nurturing the gift, except for my sister, who was really just trying to keep me from losing my mind, running away from home. Or worse. Truth be told, there were many times as a child I thought about just dying. That it would be I would be better off dead than being in the situations that I was experiencing, because I didn't feel heard or any adults. I'm laying this foundation for the children or the childhood experience, because many of us are still operating in the childlike mind. We're grown women with an under-nurtured little girl or teenager. I just wanted to let that sink in. The sound effects that you may hear, I didn't plan them. So, as I began to do my work, as I began to really learn about this, the first gift was to know what it really meant that I'm not a victim. That I really am creating my own reality at all times, even before birth. That I chose my parents. Because see, if you know that on a spiritual level, if you understand that energy can never be destroyed, it never dies. If you can understand that, then you understand that I participated in coming in this body at this time, and that the journey is remembering the truth of who I am, remembering your spiritual sovereignty, And that is why I do talk about the experience and the challenges with religion, because it dulls the senses of a sovereign being. Because we get taught very early to look outside of ourselves rather than to look within. When you feel alone as a black sheep, you are forced to study to get familiar with yourself, unless you're running from yourself. And so I studied a lot, but as I began to learn about what it means to not be a victim, sometimes it would floor me, because I overcorrected. Because as I took my metaphysical journey and started to study metaphysics and many other things, the universal law, I overcorrected. Because I gave you the example of when I got robbed on Good Hope Road in DC, and I told someone how that was my teacher, and they said, "How did you attract that?" That was an imprint. And I took the law with the old filters. That is what we tend to do. We just trade spaces, but we never cleaned up the filter. So I took those laws and started to even look at what I was even doing wrong with the law. Oh my God, how did I attract that? How did I create that? And so now internally, you're putting these things on the inside. You don't talk, you don't tell the story of who you are, what you want, asking for what you want, because you're putting in, well, I should know, I should do better. So here's where the turnaround came. When I could see the gift in everything that I had been through, it took me a long time to really understand even the gift of molestation. And I know some people who may watch this who don't know me from Adam may not understand that. We actually did a prayer call, and hopefully maybe I can get that prayer call posted up in Good Girls Gone Goddess, because one of our sisters led the prayer call to share about that. It truly is a feminine science that every goddess should know. That being said, when you can look at what you've been through and bless it, instead of wishing that it was another way, that someone would be different, even your mother or your father, that they would be different, you literally flip the switch on your story. When you can accept what it is for what it is and who it is, it doesn't mean you excuse it. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you can't have boundaries. It does not mean that you have to even participate in dysfunction if you recognize that it's there. What it means is, I have the power to choose now, from this moment. And that moment is every day. Every day new mercies I see. Every day new mercies I see. And one time I will tell you where I had to give up the story. I was red hot mad. Thank you so much, Denise. You're the only one talking back to me, but hey, we're going to keep, I see it's 10 of y'all watching today. And I just want to know that you all are there. Thank you so much. I love you, sweetheart. Okay, I see you. I see you a little bit. I have the power to choose. Yes, you do. One day I was red hot mad in a dialogue with my mother. I really had told her more than enough times what I had experienced at her hand, at her words, and all of that. I remember, hey baby, I remember just being red hot mad. And my minister friends had said enough to me, you're the light. You are the light. And I said to my mother, And in that moment, I heard, why don't you minister to her? I'm not going to do it today. I began to minister to my mother like I would a client. And the argument was over. The argument was over. Sometimes we think that because the person has the title and because society has positioned mother and father as the one that's supposed to have all the answers, sometimes they don't. And maybe you were their gift. Maybe you were their gift. Maybe because they prayed prayers because they couldn't understand what they were experiencing. They couldn't articulate it. Their wound never got healed. And again, I put this in the context of I attract leaders. I attract people who are women leaders who are leading ladies. What I'm saying to you, what you think was cursed about you may have been destined in the curriculum for you. So call your curriculum destiny. Because see, if you had been coddled, if you had been given everything that you wanted, you may not have set out on your journey. You may not have asked the questions. You may not know how to stand alone when nobody is standing with you, because see, that is what a leader has to do. You may not be able to seek and find out the information that is going to set other people free. So perhaps what you have cursed or felt cursed about as the black sheep, perhaps that was intended for you because it was your boot camp. It was your basic training. It was designed for you. So what you have thought was wrong about you, you are the right thing, baby. And when you begin to flip that thing, then you can be a contribution. Then you can be in service. You can, if you are still operating out of the womb, and there's so many in ministry. There's so many who want to be coaches now because I want to go help someone. I want to go save someone, because the truth is you still want someone to save you. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to be saved and rescued. Can you hear me? When we do not do our deeper work, we perpetuate the dysfunction that we preach about, that we say that we're serving, that we build businesses around, that we build our careers around. And you pay for what you want to pay for. You invest in what you want to invest in. And most of the shit that you invest in is to numb you so that you can't feel it. It is to shut it out, to check out. If you're still attacking and blaming other people, don't worry, it is just a symptom. It's a symptom, baby. Pain is really intended to be a signal. And what many of you do, I see you do this. You go away. I did it too. You don't ask for what you want because you don't really feel safe to do it. You don't know how to say help. And I'm not talking to the people who are always saying help. Always got a story. Always crying. That's a different story. That wasn't my journey. I can support you, but oftentimes I'm going to be a big ass interruption to you. If you are an empath, that's another gift set that many people just didn't know about. Somebody said I'm talking to them. I can't see the all of the names. I can see the words because I'm over 40, so sometimes I'm a little visually challenged. I already was visually challenged since 3rd grade, but now that I'm over 40, I got to wear spectacles, honey. See my little things here? That's what I have to do. So when we talk about our authenticity, some of the things that you hide, you don't even know it. You're not conscious of it. Some of the things that you want the breakthrough around, you gotta do a new thing. You gotta learn a new thing. You gotta learn a new way of being. You gotta be around a different set of people sometimes. Sometimes you have to put yourself in the thing that you have been afraid of. This year, I went to, last year, 2015, I took on learning how to swim. Because it was another dream deferred. It was something that I knew that it was going to break me through because of the surrender that is required. Now let me talk a little bit, close out a little bit on control. For women, our control looks and is very covert as well. Now some of us are outright bossy, outright snappy, walk around with a growl on your face. Many of you just haven't had enough orgasms, because an orgasmic woman certainly cannot walk around with a whole lot of frowns on her face. A woman who is satiated and satisfied, she's not always looking for that, for a fight. The smart mouth that many of us have is because some of us haven't we have not experienced asking for what we really want without it being a backlash, or without it being misunderstood. But control is a form of survival. And the only place that many of us have known how to surrender control is through our theology. And most of the time, it's a need-based relationship with God. I come to you when I am troubled. I come to you when I'm in pain. I come to you. Of course, I'm using your language. I'm not using my language, because I've switched my spiritual language not to be outside in. It's inside out. So when I say you, I mean that I come to the universal you. When I say Holy Spirit, I'm talking about that which is in me. When I talk about father, mother, I'm talking about the masculine and the feminine in me. When I'm praying, I know that I'm activating something on the inside of me. Because see, we talk that talk. But what about the I am consciousness that is you? Do you think that Jesus was popular, or Buddha, or any of the people that now we celebrate during Black History Month? Malcolm, Martin, Harriet. Do you think that they were popular? There's a blessing in being the black sheep. And when you are able to flip it from the victim, from being the victim, from being positioned as the victim, that somebody's doing something to you, someone's withholding something from you, then you become connected to the possibilities and the probabilities of your purpose. And I say possibility and probability because you can plan it out, and you can write it out, and you can do all of those things. You can do all of the good things that are recommended. But there's a point in those of us who are anointed that we have to surrender. And so the control mechanisms that we get recommended, some of those recommendations cannot work for you. In fact, they break you down even more. If you are anointed, you are designed to stand out. You are audacious enough to stand out. Then you need a curriculum that feeds you. And anything that is... Okay, let me say that differently. Because I know that we think that many of our curriculums feed us. What I'm saying is that we suppress many of the things that we have deemed as imperfect about us. And it doesn't mean that you are superior to anyone else because you are different, because you've experienced love differently. It simply means that just like your own astrological chart, you need to know what works for you. You need to know what doesn't work for you. But how will you know if you don't explore? So when you flip the switch out of victim, you got to keep flipping it. Not one time. And oftentimes, when you are used to being in control, it shows up like resistance. Okay? The things that you are resistant to, the things that you shut down so automatically, a lot of times that has information for you. It has curriculum for you. Even the things that you shun and say you can't stand, when you can get yourself to neutral on all of your preferences and dislikes, that is when you have flipped the switch on being the black sheep. It doesn't mean you won't have any knee-jerk reactions, because you will. The knee-jerk reactions, you may feel it, but you're able to press it down. You're able to ask yourself some questions inside. What are you feeling? What are you feeling, Latanya? What are you telling yourself, Latanya? Is this true? Are you sure about that? Do you want to check your perception on that? How do you need to communicate right now? This is why when a woman allows herself to experience pleasure, it opens up a new vortex, because we, melanated people, oftentimes think that we're not doing anything significant unless we're in pain. Pleasure is something that you must choose over and over again. You got to research, you got to investigate, you got to kind of let yourself go, let yourself be free. But what we've been taught by a lot of theology is that if I am free, that I can't trust myself. You've been taught that you can't trust yourself to be free, because what will I do? Well, and then don't mention if you're in a relationship, because if I'm free, then that means that he or she has to be free. And I ain't trying to have that in my house, because you already awfulized whatever the situation is going to be because of the self-protection of the black sheep. So, what did you hear? What did you see? What did you feel? Maybe I should have called this a fireside chat, honey, because this is but hey, I said that I'm an interruption, right? This is not you come and you just hit a tambourine and it's over. You feel good for the moment. You can still do that. I saw and heard so much. Okay, all right, sugar. Need 30 more minutes. Yeah. We do want people to watch the video. Control is a sign of survival. Yeah. Especially when you've been forced into it. You all see my other little earring, by the way? Now, if you think that God doesn't have jokes, God in me, as me, does not have jokes. I went to go do this acupressure. And of course, it's Asian medicine. And so they have different ways of reading you. You know, your body is an oracle. And certain systems teach you how to tap into it. Thank you. How about part of the therapy is that he did some stuff, manipulated some stuff, and then he placed a mustard seed as my therapy. I told the ancestors, I said, okay, baby, I hear you. I hear y'all talking to me. Hiding in the woundedness and healing others from the broken place was rich. Oh, thank you, Pastor. So yeah, I have mustard seeds attached to me that I have to keep on me today. And a part of what I plan to share one of these days, I'm trying to stay with how it was revealed to me in the order that it was revealed to me. But when you are a black sheep, you're empathic, clairvoyant, you walk in the prophetic, or any of these gift sets that we walk in. I'm only naming a few. And sometimes we have all four, sometimes we have five, sometimes we have all of them. I know people who have all of them. They can hear, they can see, they can feel, and yeah, I know these people. When you're getting ready to go to the next level in your life, in your business, it's not going to be a magic bullet. It's not always going to be comfortable. When I talk about coming out, I don't care what you see in me, or from me. You don't know what's going on the inside of me or anybody that's standing up from you. You don't know what it took for them to get there. You don't know what their journey has been. And that is why in Good Girls Gone Goddess, I invite you all to have conversations with each other. Because when we are in the company of one another, we find ourselves sometimes in the story of another person. And when we come out, when we tell it like it is, then people can, it ministers to them. It doesn't always have to be a preached word. It doesn't always have to be a scripture. And so giving up control is also that sometimes ministry is falling all around you, but it's not showing up the way that you're used to it being packaged. Even in your singleness, you need for the man to look a certain way, drive a certain thing, and all of that. And then when you get that, you discover that ain't what you wanted. How many times have you done that with a job or with a title? And then I can't tell you how many people who are doctors, who have told me, lawyers, who have come and like, this is not it. This is not what I want. This is some bull. Because many of us have been following the script, and it's time to write a new script. You are the producer of your own playwright. You, me, we. And when the script is not, if you have the power of the pen to start changing that thing. I definitely would love to talk to you, have conversations with you. You can visit me on my site, rebirthinternational.net. If anything is landing with you, there are several ways that you can work with me. And I do plan to be sharing a lot more. I won't even say how right now. Let's just say it's going to be a lot more. So thank you all for joining me today. Flip the switch on the victimhood. If you don't know how, then that is a part of the journey. You're not going to get everything on a free broadcast on social media. You're not going to get everything through scrolling through Facebook and just liking posts. You're going to have to decide to do the work, sister. You're going to have a conversation at some point, because instead of waiting until your life has fallen apart, or that there's a critical issue that you need to address, no, sis, you won't be able to get it. And many of us who have been servant leaders have thought that meant some kind of martyrhood, that I got to give myself away for free, and including you. So I can't tell you everything. I have been doing this work for now almost, 20 years. 20 years. 20 years. 20 years. I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. When I talk about rebirth, I am talking about my own. And it's happening over and over again. Last year when I was going through another rebirth, there was a part of me that had to die. And I was ready to change the name, honey. I was like, Lord, have mercy. Because this is creating a reality that sometimes I don't want to experience. That's why Paul said I die daily. We position death as a bad thing. Sometimes death is necessary for your resurrection. All right. I'll start talking some more if I keep going and y'all don't talk back to me. But do talk to me, and Good Girls Gone God is here. Tell me what you heard on Facebook. Tomorrow, you want to know what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow? Unless thus saith the Lord something else. I don't even know. You know, I might as well go on and deal with the dark side of prosperity. The dark side of standing in your purpose, because we don't want to deal with that a lot of times. We only want to walk in the light, the spotlight. All right, y'all want to see? I thought that the horses were going to come today, so you could see them. They were out there, but I don't see. They didn't come, so I guess they're being shy. So I love y'all. There's nothing that you can do about it. You know, I know that I'm being rather casual in my sharing with you, but if you need something more official, you know I have it. Hey, I got you, boo. I got what you need. You say I'm just a friend. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you all again on the other side tomorrow at the same time, same station. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it.